Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I got a really exciting show for you today. I have someone that I had the pleasure of meeting at a local, or actually an event on the East Coast. We're actually both Californians, and we meet for the first time in Richmond, Virginia. So that shows that people that are in the business go out and seek mentorship and networking and the like. So I'd like to welcome Beau Eckstein to the show. How you doing this morning, Beau?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got back from the gym, which is one of my morning rituals, and then I like this. It gets my day started. So
Yeah, like you, I am in the gym at least 5 days out of the week from 9 to 10. And if you ask me why, it's because there's hardly anybody there. It's amazing. There's nobody there Monday through Friday from 9 to 10. I got the gym to myself, so it's awesome.
yeah, totally. Yeah. So that's kind of how I start my day every day, just like you. And I just feel like my days are way more productive. I usually go really early in the morning, but on a Sunday I'll sleep in. That's my one day to sleep in.
Oh, good for you. I'm a morning person. I'm asleep by 10, so I usually get up at I'm up by like 5:30 for sure. I do 2 or 3 hours of something around real estate, either looking for my deals or putting videos together. Then I hit the gym. Then I come home, shower, obviously, and then I'm out. Then I'm with my wife Olivia the rest of the day, and we do what we want. So it's a pretty nice way to live. So I thought we'd jump in and first just talk about Emerge Lending Group and sort of paint the picture of what that is, how it helps investors. So why don't you go ahead and just start there?
Sure. So I got started in real estate when I was 20 as a telemarketer for a residential mortgage company. Then I ended up getting into real estate sales, and then I ended up getting into private money lending, or hard money lending, if you will, about 10 years ago. And then I really enjoyed it because it's fast. It just asset-based lending. So we get to look at deals. What are you buying it for? What are you going to sell it for? And how much work you're going to put in, and what's your track record? That's basically how we assess if this is a good deal or not. And most of the time, it's really dependent on the operator who we're lending the money to, because it could be the best project in the world, and it turns out to be a bad project. So we have to assess the pros and cons of every deal. But right now, there's just too much capital in the marketplace. So it's a very competitive industry right now.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, there was no money. That was right around 2007 and 2008 when the economy collapsed. So there wasn't much institutional money in the private money world. Now it's completely different. We got hedge funds. We got so much capital throwing money into our business right now. And so just a matter of navigating and figure out where our group is the strongest. So Emerge Lending was formed about a year and a half ago. And basically I work with some management companies, and these management companies manage several funds. And so I'm basically the loan origination source for these management companies. And dependent on the deal, I send it to the fund that makes the most sense, that will do it, in the best terms for the borrower, make a win-win situation. I can lend pretty much in every state. There's a few states I don't lend in. I enjoy it because I get to see what other people are doing all over. I see why people win and why people fail and lose. And so it's made me personally a better investor, being able to see this. And so I really enjoy that aspect of it. And then when I'm not doing that, obviously I'm an investor, and I do fix and flips, and I do buy and holds in the Midwest, and I'm in Northern California here, and I do fix and flips here and some wholesaling. So that's pretty much my business.
Yeah, lots of stuff you dropped there that I want to kind of peel back on, that you and I may know, because we've been in the game a while, but I want to make sure people watching this kind of get it. And first is, everybody has a definition between private and hard money. We've both, you probably have lent both. I have borrowed both, but I'd love your definition. Maybe hard money versus private money, or take a stab at that if you don't mind first.
Sure. So I consider private money when you borrow money from an individual from their IRA, or maybe they're just a high net worth individual. They're still putting a first deed of trust on the property, or a second deed of trust on the property. Basically the same thing. I suggest to everybody that you need both private lenders and you need hard money lenders like myself. I do a combination of the both. I do have some funds that I lend. But so basically it's a private individual versus a hard money fund or some kind of hedge fund type of deal. And so it's better for the consumer or the borrower typically to find private individuals. But the way we stack our loans and the way I suggest people doing this is, listen, go out and find a good lender like myself or somebody else that's been in the business that can get you good terms and get you good leverage on your deals, and then find individuals who know, like, and trust you and have seen your track record, and they'll lend what we call the gap fund. They'll lend the down payment and the rehab funds. So when I was starting as a flipper, that's the most difficult part, right? It was the economy collapsed. It was 2008. I had no money. I had bad credit. What could I do? And so what I was able to do was to effectively partner and raise capital from just hard money funds like myself and then individuals. So I did probably the first 10 or 12 deals I flipped with no money, but because I effectively partnered and raised money from different individuals. So there's a strategy for both. But if you can raise your own capital from private individuals, it's always a lot easier because oftentimes they don't require the same diligence like credit reports and appraisals. They're doing it in their own underwriting style. So yeah, it's really dependent. But typically in California, it's a little bit harder to raise $1 million from one investor, whereas you can come to a fund like ours and we do $1 million loans all day long. We do $2 million loans all day long. So if you can couple hard money and private money together, I think that's your best way to start. And you should be harnessing these relationships because, there's pretty much three components of flipping a house: finding the deal, getting the capital, and managing the construction process. If you can do those efficiently, you should be successful.
No, I totally agree. From my perspective, like you said, I think everybody, that's in this business for any length of time should focus on having both. I just want, a couple little things as the borrower, right? I've never been the lender. So as a borrower myself and having done both private and hard, private money, once you kind of establish that track record, is, I don't know if I want to say generally cheaper, but at least you can be a lot more flexible, right? Does somebody want a higher interest rate? Do you want to give them part of the deal or part of the profit? There's just lots of things, because in theory, if you follow the letter of the law of private money, they are friends and family, somebody you have a meaningful relationship and, all the other checks and balances. So that allows you to basically borrow on reputation or friendship or, family. Hard money, for people just starting out, I think is great. And I used hard money a lot during the collapse, right? Lending turned off, especially for anybody who had real estate. It was gone. It evaporated. So I leveraged hard money quite a bit, and I bought hand over fist. But the difference for me with hard money is they wanted me to have some skin in the game, right? It's very easy to use private money in relationships to borrow 100%, sometimes even 100% of the purchase and repair. But in a hard money situation, they generally want to see you have some skin in the game, or they're going to take the repairs and chunk those out over time, and things of that nature. So I think if you're just starting out, I like the checks and balances of hard money. Because again, they're going to look at a deal, right? If somebody brings you a deal and it's not a deal, you're going to tell them, right? You're going to say no, and you're going to say the deal's too skinny, or your ARV's wrong, or you're underscoping budget, or whatever, right?
Exactly. And now, traditionally, years ago, hard money lenders would go to, like, say, they would lend like 70% of the purchase max.
Yep.
And now we're in such a different world where we're lending 85% of the purchase and 100% of the repair costs. So you only need 15% down payment plus enough in reserves to debt service the loan each month. Our loans are always interest only, and they're 9 months to 12-month terms. And then when we're holding the rehab funds, you get paid after the work's done. So,
correct.
For example, you might have a line item for demo, and then electrical and sheetrock. And then when those are done, you call and we come out, we check that it's done, and then we issue you the check. So you do need a little bit of kind of startup capital, because a lot of people try to go in, I got 100% of repair costs, but you have to get to the first leg. So when you're using your, I think everybody should have some sort of spreadsheet where it factors in how many months they're going to need for debt service, closing costs, to make it easy on themselves, so they can look at the deal and then verify with their numbers that there's room in the deal. Because oftentimes people go, well, I'm buying it for $400, I'm going to sell it for $550. Yeah. We're only putting in $60,000. but are you counting realtor fees, closing costs, supplemental property taxes? There's so much.
Insurance, yeah, all that other
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
utilities, right? Exactly. And then oftentimes what you see people failing at is they say, oh, it's going to be a 2-month project, so we'll have it sold within 4 months,
Huh.
and that becomes a 9-month project, right? And they're not. So where are they going to debt service
Yeah.
those loans, right? So if, like, for example, I have 6 projects going on right now, and if I screw up, it'll put me in a financial bind because that extra 3 or 4 months per project could be another 60 grand I have to come in with. So you always have to be conservative on your ARV and also your budget. Don't shrimp on your budget, because everything you do is going to be it costs more now than it did 5 years ago. Like painting a house is almost double the price right now. So make sure your budget's right and pad it a little bit. And if the deal makes sense, then you have extra reserves for the longer term it might take to get sold, or a little slight downturn or in the market. And this way you reduce a lot of the stress that I see many flippers go through, because depending on if you're doing entry level or you're doing $2 million homes, if you're doing a $2 million home and you misjudge, I'm watching people right now misjudge on one, and it's costing them 13 grand a month to debt service, right? So when you're the higher end home, you have to be really careful. Entry level seems right now in our market seems to be the product to be flipping.
Yep.
As opposed to the higher end stuff right now. A year ago, 2 years ago, there was big spreads on those type of products, but even in the city, everything over 2 million sitting longer than it was 9 months ago.
Yeah, well, I think there's some subtle things that we're just talking about here that I just want to make sure we call out. The real estate market, as we sort of hinted, right? We both talked about '08. We talked about now. It goes through its own cycle, right? We've clearly been in a seller's market. It's at least in the $2 million product in the Bay Area, it's changing. I think it's changing probably across the country at anything above the median. But the other thing that changes is access to money. And there are so many different cycles that sort of crisscross in this business that you have to pay attention to lots of different factors, right? And I think, and I've posted and I've created videos on this. I actually think there's some flippers who have been in the business 5 years or less that only have known the seller's market are going to go bankrupt, because their holding time will be twice as long. They'll have, their ARV will get cut by 10% because it's been sitting for 90 days. And unfortunately, I saw this movie in '08, right, where back then it was all this just people buying these owner-occupant homes with Countrywide and IndyMac loans, these 2 and 28 teaser loans. It blew up and lots of people got hurt. And I think today people flipping above the median in a market could get caught. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, I agree. And also, like the cities are all backlogged, right? And some cities are really difficult. Let's say, for example, if you look at Berkeley, Berkeley it's just such a pain to get through the permit process with them.
Yep.
You could literally get stuck for 10 months with no progress, and people are thinking they're going to be done in 10 months. They haven't even started. I see this all the time because our fund here in Concord, we're really good. Our specialty is construction loans.
Okay.
We do a lot of bigger construction loans for these type of luxury homes, and I'll tell you what, I would say probably 70% of them have to get extended. They tell us it's going to be done and sold within 12 months. It ends up being a 24-month project. So as soon as the market levels out or declines in a bit, they're going to be done. You're right. Yeah. They're going to be done. I don't think we're going to have a huge, like a downturn like we had in 07, 08.
No way. There's no chance.
Yeah, that was like one for the history books. But can you see a 5-10% decline in prices and then inventory levels rise? Yes, right. And so I think you're dead on when you said, somebody who got in this business in 2009 and bought and just held on to property as rentals, they look like geniuses, right? Their properties in California doubled.
Yeah.
And so they are geniuses in their mind, but then again, they've never seen a bad market yet. Yeah. And then things change. You're not able to refinance and pull cash out. Your money gets buried in properties. You lose 50 grand on in equity, and you're not able to get the same LTV on a refinance. So many variables. So, but these variables, like you're saying, create opportunities for everybody, because when there's a little dip and a lull in the market, people tend to panic sell. And when they can't move their properties, they're more likely to sell to an investor, not cleaning it up and as is.
Oh, no question. Yeah. Hey, Beau, can you do me a favor? Move your camera down a little bit. Or there you go. There you go. You're such a you're such a good looking guy. You're in, and then your chin's out of frame sometimes. But anyways, that's perfect. But what we're talking about here is very important, because we're both Bay Area guys, but I think this applies to any market across the country. If you are flipping product at the median, and certainly 2x your median, even if your median is 100 grand, whatever market that is, if you're flipping 200 or 200 and a quarter properties, I think you're in trouble. I think you need to do whatever you can to cut your inventory, even if that's wholesale something or hotel something or whatever. Take a small loss now, because real estate investing is an emotional sport. And when the headlines change, I've seen it repeatedly now. People just sit on their hands and buyers disappear. That's what's happening right now, is when CNBC and Wall Street Journal and Fortune and Forbes and local papers start to say things like listings up 40%, price cuts increased 100%, even though the numbers may be relatively small, like it went from 2 to 4. But when they quote 100%, people see those headlines and don't read the article. Then they go, wow, shit, I'm not going to buy now. I'm not buying at the peak. And they'll go, wow, I'm going to wait for the next crash. So if you have a bunch of inventory today, don't buy more. Do yourself a favor, get a little lighter, get through this, so you can do what I'm doing now. And I'm already starting to be greedy, because I've seen buyers in my market disappear. I didn't do anything in December. I took the whole month off to be with family, travel, do whatever I want. I bought 3 properties between January 1st and January 7th, all 40 to 50 grand under the list price in the MLS. Not direct marketing, not a wholesaler, bought out of the MLS because the seller, was nervous. So get greedy, but you can't do that if you're overextended. If you have a $13,000 payment to debt service, you can't buy anymore, and you're going to be missing an opportunity. So use this time to get lighter, more flexible. And then as the market goes negative, get greedy.
I love it. Yeah, I agree. And personally, I don't like managing construction. So, also find your strengths and weaknesses, effectively partner. If you've got a partner that likes to do the project management and the picking out the designs and whatnot, that's perfect. So that's what I do. Typically I do sometimes I'll do them by myself, but I sometimes, 60 or 70% of the time I'm partnering with somebody to take the load and the stress off of me.
Yeah.
And so do what works for you. But also what I'm doing right now is we're mostly doing entry level, where we're going in and we're not doing a lot of moving structural things. It's all cosmetic flips right now. So the spreads aren't huge, but we're doing more volume now. We're just doing quick deals where we're getting them back on the market within 3 months, typically 45 days.
Anything that's 75% or less than the median for your market is going to fly off the shelf, right? It fundamentally has to. We have unemployment under 4%. We have interest rates under 6%. We have FHA doing 3.5% loans. That stuff's going to fly. In most markets, you can't build entry level for what you can buy a distressed property and fix it up for. So if your rebuild cost is higher than what you can buy, repair, and sell for, go nuts. That stuff's going to sell always. So I think that's a very smart idea. You're a very, very, very wise and experienced investor. I guess 2 more questions about your business today, because you mentioned that you invest in most states. I get lots of people reaching out to me going, hey, I live in, some city in the central part of the country where median price is maybe 75 grand. And they want to buy the 40K fixer. What they're telling me is they're having trouble finding lenders that will that will lend on 40K assets. Do you play there? Or is that just too expensive? The paperwork's not worth it. What does that look like?
Yeah. So most hard money lenders don't. And their minimum loans are typically around 75,000 with purchase price and rehab. These hard money companies want to typically do $100,000 deals, $8,000 minimum type of thing. So what I do, because I invest in those markets, I invest mostly in Indiana for my buy, fix, and hold product. And so I'm buying stuff anywhere from $6,000
Wow.
houses off sheriff sales to about $50,000 or $60,000 multifamily, like duplexes and fourplexes type thing.
Hmm.
So what I do is I have built friends, financial friends, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we all talk about. So the beauty of this is that these small deals, most people have 50 or 60K in a retirement, even if they haven't done anything else correct in their life.
Yeah.
They somehow, then we get them on with the custodian, teach them about self-directing their money, and they become my bank. They get a first mortgage on the property, and so one deal I bought, which was just it was about 2 years ago. The gentleman came, filled out an inquiry on my website. I called him or texted him. Actually, I think we texted the whole time. We negotiated the price. I bought this house. It was a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1,600 square feet. I bought it for $22,000. And then my contractor went out, because this is Indiana. Then I sent my contractor out to give me a bid for the work. He said I can get it rent ready for $12,000.
Okay.
So I needed $34,000. So I called my friend Adam, who's a big wig in the software. He's got lots of money, and I go, Adam, would you make a loan? I'll pay you 10% in 2 points.
Yeah.
I need a 12-month term, and then I'll refinance you out. He lent me $34,000, got a first mortgage on the property.
Yep.
I came in with no money, fixed it up in a month, rented it out for a year at $1,200 a month. So all in at 34 with somebody else's money.
Yeah.
$1,200 a month gross rent. And then tenant ended up moving out after a year, and I ended up selling that one for $85,000. So that's the power. Everybody talks about, like, how do you do no money down deals? We do them all the time, but you got to learn how to get the right mindset and then also have the right people.
Yeah.
And when you're just starting out, you're too desperate. It's just like when you go on online dating, right?
Yeah.
Like if you seem too desperate, you're not going to get any dates. You got to play it cool, and you got to let them know that you're seasoned and you're a good dater. Same thing with bringing in investors for these type of small deals. But that's what I do in the Midwest, because there's not much hard money. Now, once the asset's fixed up, it might be worth, what I do is it might be worth, so one of them I bought with $17,000, I put in $50,000, it's worth $120,000. So now that asset,
yep.
Our funds too, we do offer like a 30-year product. It's a 30 doing 10, so it's fixed for 10 years. It's not like a bank loan, but like for me, I write off everything. I don't have any W-2 income, so
right.
My adjusted gross income is minimal. I pay very little taxes that way, but it's hard to get a bank loan. So I don't mind paying a little bit higher interest rate because my cash flow is so good on these properties. I mean, where else can you be all in on something at 30 or 40 grand and get $1,200 a month? That's why I do it.
Score. Yeah. How many of those do you want? The only answer I'll accept is all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a while to get this, like, somewhat of a system in place where I trusted the contractor, trust the property manager. Mm-hmm. But now I really trust the contractor and I trust the property manager. So it's like I'm having them go look at the property and say, hey, is this one a good one to buy or rent, or should we pass on it? And then I use their judgment. I mean, I just bought another house for $8,000 and I put $5,000 in. I'm renting it out. It's a 700 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow. So, I mean, and that's what I did. Hey, is it a relatively good area? Property manager said, yes, we have rentals in the area. So now I just finished that one about 3 weeks ago, and we're trying to rent it for $700 a month. So, but these markets, the one thing I have to say about these markets, when you're a Californian, oftentimes in every market cycle, right, everything goes up here and everybody thinks they're going to go buy. They're going to, Las Vegas. Everybody starts buying in Vegas. Everybody starts buying in Arizona. Hey, I can buy this. And because there's no deals here that people think. And then they go to the Midwest. But the thing is that you still need to realize that you're a Californian. And even though, something on the MLS may look juicy at 30 grand, it might not still be a good deal, because you really got to, these markets, because the economics are so much different than in California. Yeah. You really just got to be careful, because you don't want to buy C-D properties and have to deal with turnover, because that's what's going to crush you on these Midwest deals.
Oh yeah, the turnover. In any market, turnover is what kills landlords. Here, as well, right? Turnover kills landlords. Yeah. So the one thing that I call it the California brain, right? We get so spoiled, especially if you're Bay Area, Orange County, something like that. And we live, around 50. Houses. Houses in Sunnyvale, like, I don't know, 10 miles from where I at, or 1950, ranches, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. They go for over $1 million, right? We look in Indiana or Ohio or Michigan, and houses are, I just saw one in Richmond, Virginia, where we were. Somebody pulled up the phone, 5,000 square foot, 3-story home, this, that, and the other thing, like 88 grand. I'm like, what? And the guy's telling me that's not a deal. I'm like, you have any idea what a 5,000 square foot house would cost where I am? That's the California brain. Don't go there. I'll go this far. I'm not going to name any names, but I will tell you there's turnkey providers out there that are going after California investors and taking advantage of you, right? They're selling you product fully repaired, probably leased out for more than it's worth because they know we have California brain. So be careful. Check out the market. Do your due diligence. Don't let that happen to you. Have you seen stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Well, most turnkey providers that I've seen that are doing it on a big level, they're selling their turnkey product probably 10 or 15% over retail.
Yeah.
To Californians. And the problem is that when they show you a pro forma and go, okay, you're going to get a bank loan, you're going to get $300 a month cash flow. I mean, on a cash flow perspective, yes, it's an okay deal. It's nothing like I would buy,
right?
But I understand like people that want to get in. But the problem is 3 years later, when you have a hardship or you want to move your money because you find a really good deal, you can't sell these assets.
No.
So if you're gonna, so if you're going to invest out of state, find 1 or 2 markets, travel there, meet people, really get to know like what is a really good deal there, and the same thing because. At the end of the day, if you want to be in this business long term, you got to figure out a system that's going to work for you at this point, because we all have different systems that get us to where we want to go, and some of us get there faster. I see some of my friends who just crushed it in multifamily. In 7 years time, they went from owning like 20 houses, now they own 2,500 units. Wow. I mean, that's an exception to the rule. But my friend learned how to do syndication, and he went out and he started buying big apartment complexes. And he grew his net worth from $3 million. Now he's worth over $20 million because he knew what he was doing and went for the right product. Now, not everybody's going to hit that.
Yeah.
And so, like for me, when I was like, okay, I've been flipping properties, that's great, but where is it really leading to? Because that money you pay tax on it short term. At the end of the day, you're just spinning your wheels. Okay. So you got to spin your wheels with a purpose, and the purpose is to find somewhere where you can buy, fix, and hold for cash flow. And it's going to take a lot of these small Indiana houses to get me up to be, we call it being 100%er. And this is what I tell everybody when I talk to them. I go, first goal in life is to become 100%er. And you ask what 100%er is. It basically 100%er means that if all your expenses, food, dining, insurance, mortgage, rent, let's say that costs me, I'm a single guy. Let's say my overhead is $7,000 so a month. So your first goal in life is to work towards getting a $7,000 a month of net cash flow, right? Because then you're 100%er. Then you quit your job at that point, and then you get to becoming a 200%er, where you have so much passive income coming in that you now just reinvest your passive income full time. That's easy. It's not rocket science, but you have to get started. And depending when you get started, like right now, we're kind of in a peak market, right? So it's a little bit harder right now to get a momentum play where you're going to just like in a 5-year time, your property is going to double and triple. That's unrealistic, but there are waves in the market. So if you're lucky enough to catch them, know what you're in. And then now we got to kind of change our mindset and be a little bit more cautious, but there's always deals. And that's one thing that I really, this 2019, for me personally, it's almost going back to the basics. So what I've never done is I've never went really deep with 2 or 3 marketing strategies to bring deals. Now, yes, there's deals on MLS. There's good ways to do MLS follow-up systems where like you're getting deals, you think they're pending, but they fall out, and the realtor knows you want it. He flips it to you, and you're getting it under market value. You can buy deals that way still. And people don't just, there's no deals. You got direct marketing, you have letters, you have telemarketing, you have code violations. There's so many ways to get deals. So that's what I'm going deep with right now, because what I realized is if I want to do more deals, that means I have to look at more deals.
Yeah.
And you can't sit back and just like, there's no deals. Well, what are you doing to get deals? That's the number one thing you can do getting started, is to be good at finding deals and analyzing deals. The
Yeah.
money will come and everything else will follow from there.
Yeah. Again, you're dropping so many nuggets here. It's a lot of fun. A couple of things that I picked up early in that was you said, and I'm so happy you said it, go to the market. You don't know how many people I talk to that says, hey, I want to invest in X state, X city, not to pick on anyone. And I'm like, well, great. When are you going to go there and check it out? And they're like, I'm not going to go check it out. I don't want to go there. And they're like, they give me this face. I'm like, you mean to tell me you're going to take 50 or 100 or whatever it is, invested in it, and you're never going to go there? Are you freaking kidding me? No wonder we're being taken advantage of as California investors. Get off your butt, go see it, go meet people. This is a people business. It's not an Excel spreadsheet, people. Go out there, meet people, meet the areas, figure out where you want to play. And you know what? You may get there and you may not like it. Guess what? You just saved your butt some money, because it's better to learn now than after you buy it and then you got to take a haircut because you're selling it when you're desperate. So I'm so glad you said go there. That was very important. The other one that I got was the 100%er. I've never heard that. I like that. It's so subtle, right? Be 100%er. And thankfully I am, right? It took me 15 years, right? So this is not at least for me, it wasn't quick. But one rental at a time, we got there after 15 years. We rode the cycles, right? We went up, we sold, we 1031, we did all that stuff. So it's absolutely possible. I look forward to being a 200%er. I got to figure out where I am, but that'll be a lot of fun. So I want to thank you for sharing all of that information. I thought what we'd do. Oh, you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, and also the thing about me is that I know I'm not where I want to be. And, when I was younger, I said, oh, I want to be this big millionaire, but what does that really mean? Right.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what you really want. And what I realize is I love real estate. I'll always be in real estate.
Yeah.
But the important thing is to get the cash flow going first, because when the cash flow is coming in, I mean, look at it this way. My brother is a money guy. Okay. He's in mutual fund business. He crushes it, makes tons of money. For him to stack away $1 million is probably easier than me to stack $1 million, because he just has a one-track mind of, he makes a lot of money every month and he just,
yeah.
But if you can really look at this, like if I had $1 million in the bank and I was getting 5%, that's $50,000 a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can go to Indiana with about $100,000 and get $5,000 a month in net cash flow. So if you change your mindset, you can shortcut things through real estate so much faster. Plus you get appreciation, you get depreciation, at the end of the day, you have so many write-offs when you're a real estate professional that even though you're making good rental income, you can really offset so much of it that you pay very minimal taxes. So it's like, it is the best tool out there, and it's the best long-term game. So that's kind of like when I really thought about it, it's like, okay, how long would it take me, the way I spend money, $1 million versus how fast can I get 5,000 or 10,000 cash flow, right? It's way easier. You can go out right now and buy a 15 or 20 unit building in the Bay Area or Fresno or wherever, and you buy one apartment complex, that could change your whole life.
Yeah.
And then you can borrow all the money. So it's really learning all these tools, and then surrounding yourself with people that keep on educating you. So you keep learning. I mean, I didn't go to college, but I can tell you what, I've been in more real estate classes and trainings, and I've made more connections than any like MBA or whatever. So wherever you're at, there's people that are willing to share and mentor you, where you can learn so much where you're probably not going to learn those strategies in college. So that was kind of like my thing. I didn't like high school. I tried to go to college. I didn't fit in. It wasn't my thing. But when I found something I like real estate, I dove in head first. I probably spend $30,000 or $40,000 a year every year traveling and going to events and networking and meeting people. Yeah. And it's going to pay off like 10x, right?
Oh, easy.
Yeah. So that's what I do now. And plus I enjoy, I can write it off. I can go to Florida or I can go to Vegas or anywhere and go learn something and network with people that I can do deals with.
Yeah. Again, man, you're dropping stuff so subtly. I want to make sure we call it out. Something else you just mentioned there is You live on your income statement. You don't live on your balance sheet, right? Yeah, sure. You can go, have this, whatever impressive net worth, and maybe it's fun to talk about sipping wine at dinner with friends. But it's about your income statement, which in this case was cash flow, right? $5,000 a month coming in from rentals is a lot better than $5,000 coming in from a job. You're going to pay a lot more taxes on job money. You have your tenants are adding to your net worth because they're paying for it. You have fixed rate debt in an inflationary environment, which is great. And I mean, this, not to mention depreciation and all that other good stuff. So the income statement is what people should think about. Unfortunately, we've been raised, or at least I was raised, to talk about net worth. Oh, I'm worth X or I'm worth Y. And it means nothing, right? You don't spend your balance sheet. It's all about income.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that affords you to do whatever you want. And that's the thing. Like, I think we're in a lifestyle now, or with social media and everything. I see these young millennials, and like, they're doing a lot of big things online, right? They got Shopify accounts.
Yeah.
And they're learning that. And then everybody that I know in the entrepreneur space, we really have the same desires in life. And that's really to do what we want to do when we want to do it, and to have a lifestyle. Like, I've never really had a job, actually. When I was 16, I did childcare and was a lot attendant at a car dealership. But I never really had a job, and I struggled a lot, and the downturn wiped me out. But I'm glad I've never had a job, because I hate having a job. And although some of my friends that are still high-level W-2 employees, I have a handful of friends that are software guys, and like my brother, who's in a big mutual fund guy. They make tons of money as a W-2 employee, and it allowed them to save money, but they're like the top 2% or so.
Yeah.
The rest of the people, like in the Bay Area, if you're making 100 to 150 grand a year, and you're actually just really getting by, which is sad, right? Like, you're not really able. Most of them, I would say, really, it's hard to save money, and that's why the only saving grace is like a forced, like 401k or whatever. But then again, you're letting somebody else design where your funds are going. And then if we have a collapse in the economy, your portfolio goes down 30%. So.
Yeah. You know what I call that? I call that CRAP, right? Which stands for cash rich, asset poor. I know lots of people in the software game that have impressive W-2s and may have a blowout year here or there because of stock this or stock that. But at the end of the day, they have cash, and cash is trash. If the stock market goes into a bear market at the wrong time, you lose 30%, and sorry, with real estate, you can really control it. It's a necessity of life, like water and food. And especially if you play where we do, we're talking about affordable housing, 75% the median. It's pretty hard to get hurt in that market. So, you know what? I want to switch gears. I want to talk about your Thrive Real Estate Investing Association. I've seen what you do there. I've seen some of the events. Let's give that some props, because I love what you're doing there. Why don't you talk about what it is, where it is, when it meets, that kind of stuff?
Sure. So like 6 or 7 years ago, I went to meetup.com, and I started just a meetup for real estate investing. And then it grew over the years, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to just, brand it. So I named it Thrive, REIA, which stands for Real Estate Investor Association. And then we have monthly meetings. They vary. Usually they're in Walnut Creek. We're going to start doing them all over, though, the Bay Area. You can go to meetup.com/Thrive, REIA. And you just subscribe. And then when we have our next event, you'll get notified. And then you come on. Usually our events right now are in Walnut Creek, but we have all different topics. But what I really found out, because I used to bring in a lot of different speakers, but going forward, like the last one we did last week, I had the biggest RSVP of just my meetup. I do one big event a year too, but for my normal meetup, we had like 140 RSVPs because it was because of the topic, and we taught on how to find deals off market, right? How to find deals. Like, everybody's like, well, how do you find deals? And that's everybody struggles with the same thing, especially if you have no means. Like, if you don't have money, and that's what you need to do, is you have to find a deal to make money.
Yeah.
Some people come in this and they have some means, so they can go in and start buying rentals. But the majority of people I see that come to my meetups are either people that are super seasoned and are doing things, which is about 10%. And then the 90% or so are like just getting started. They're W-2 employees. Some of them are, successful in their field, but they just need to learn something, and they don't want to go to an expensive boot camp to learn that. So, my suggestion, wherever you're at listening to this and watching this, go to meetup.com, find some local real estate investor association, go to them. Some of them are junk. Some of them are really good. I go to a lot of them that I just go as an attendant. And then just start learning and networking. I see so many deals being made in my group now. It's great. Like realtors are just helping, people locally that come to it. A bunch of people that come to my meetup lend me money. So it's great because they know I'm doing these, sometimes I'll teach the meetup. And so I have a little bit of credibility. And since I host this meetup, that's the other thing I want to talk about is I position myself in a place of authority, right? Because I'm the man that's doing this. And of course, it brings me deals. And then I always mention that I do loans. So it's a good funnel for me. And I enjoy helping people too. It's not just a selfish thing.
Yeah.
I enjoy getting people, educating them and talking about real estate. So we have a really good network.
Yeah.
And we just talked about finding deals off market. And then we're going to bring in speakers that will help with actionable plans, because a lot of the times people come to these things and they don't take action. So we need people to come in and say, okay, assess where you're at right now, create a plan to get what you want or start where you want. Because like you, for example, it took you 15 years to get where you wanted, but now look where you're at. And it's like your life is totally different than you would have probably had to work until you were 7 years old if you didn't.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the problem is I couldn't have. I worked in the field where, sure, there are some guys that do it into their 50s, but in software sales and sales management, it's a young man's game, young woman's game. Sorry, not to be sexist, because it's so stressful. You're a 90-day cycle. You're one bad quarter away from being fired, and it wears on you. So I don't think I could have done my job more than 5 or 6 years, and it would have been over. I would have had to do something else, which would have been terrible, because if I didn't have all this real estate, I wouldn't have been able to afford my lifestyle. So there's so much truth to that. And, that's, creating action and giving people roadmaps. That's kind of why I wrote that book that you saw me talk about. And it's, creating action and getting people from 0 to 1 is kind of a goal for me now, right? There's lots of people stuck on 0 and analysis paralysis or whatever they want to call it. So I look forward to helping people get their first rental property. That's kind of my niche where I'm focused, hence the book and this channel and all of that. So the abundance mentality that we both have is awesome, right? You give and give, and you just, stuff comes to you, right? Whether it's deals or lending or whatever that is. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I like I said, I love real estate, and it's nice seeing people just making huge. I've seen like new people like 3 years ago. Now they're like 10xing what I'm doing, and I'm like, whoa, how did you do that? So. But you can never compare yourself against others, because I often find myself doing that. Like, oh, why is he just ultra successful, or why is she just so successful? Like everything they've done is just turned to gold. Listen, we all have our own, our own road to drive, and just enjoy the journey, and it's like working out, right? Like I noticed about myself, I would be really good on my diet and work out for a month, and then I would get sidetracked and I would be derailed, and I'd get even fatter because I'd be depressed.
Right.
So the consistency of it all is the key. And so that's why, like when I was talking earlier about going deep with, I've never set up marketing structures to bring in deals off market. Right. And everybody I really know, in one way or the other, they have a system for doing what they do. And then they can take themselves out of that equation, just like the E-Myth, right? You don't have to read the book. I'll just tell you what it is. Work on your business, not in your business. Like you've heard that before. That's the whole big concept of the book, which is so true. So being able to leverage virtual assistants. Actually, at the event we were just at, through networking, I said, I need a telemarketer. So one of the guys hooked me up with their virtual telemarketing company. So now I have everything in place. I'm paying a telemarketer $7 an hour. Okay. So, and I have a system where it tracks their outgoing calls and call times, and it records it. So I can just go in and check what they're doing.
Yeah.
So to set up a system really isn't that hard. And $7 an hour, 30 or 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And let's say I spend 3 months, or let's say every month I get one deal out of it. I spend $1,000 in marketing effort, and I make 20 or 30,000. It's kind of, that's what you have to do to up your level.
Yep.
Assuming you're doing this more of a full time versus if you're a W-2 employee, one rental all the time is a great concept, because regardless, you started with one and you're able to harvest these crops. When those go up in value, you can refinance them, you can 1031, you harvest, and then you expend your cash flow. Like my buddy I share my office with here, he's an appraiser, and he's sitting on like over $1 million in equity on some properties here in the Bay Area. And his cash flow on these is maybe like his portion. I think he has a partner on some of his deals. He might be making $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, take that $1 million, 1031 exchange, and that should be paying you $10,000 a month. That's your mindset.
Easy, yeah.
Always exchanging for higher cash flow and less problems.
Totally agree. I mean, you heard the story, right? That's what we did, right? Our single family homes, which were 7 or 8, which were by no means could make us 100%er, to use what you shared earlier. We 1031 all those, and 8 doors went to 80 doors in 18 months, and we went from 1,000 roughly to 5,000. That's a lot closer to being 100%er, and no new capital, just moving equity. It was awesome. Yeah,
and that's what he could do. So also like, getting the mindset, like people like go, oh, well, I've got $1 million sitting here, or people have.
Yeah.
Maybe they have 500,000 of equity in their primary residence. And it's like, okay, just think how you can strategically, and don't over leverage, but strategically position, maybe put a HELOC or an equity line on your house.
Mm-hmm.
And you have $300,000 to go out and leverage on rental properties. Where if you go to Indiana, maybe you can buy 20 or 30 houses, or you go,
mm-hmm.
somewhere in California where it's less money, where you can buy $200,000 houses. You can leverage. It's not that hard to get started. Just get the game plan. And I liked when you talked about, when you analyzed, you said, listen, I want to find a place that's close to me, because I'm new to real estate investing. So you found, and that's where you found where you wanted to invest.
Yep.
And I thought that was really smart. I'm like, yeah, where can you get cash flow? Where can you get at least if you're going to invest in the West Coast, and you get, everybody talks about the 1% rule, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So like, you found that place and you executed and you just did it. And if you're getting started, I would actually say try to invest locally too. It's easier because mm-hmm. you can go to your properties, right? Like,
yeah,
when something goes wrong in Indiana, I could be pretty screwed. So you just also got to weigh the pros and cons of everything. So I think going forward, my model is changed slightly. I'm going to continue to buy where I am in the Midwest.
Sure.
I'm going to look for one other market that can get me similar results as there, and then keep doing what I'm doing here in the Bay Area. And then when I find the right buy and hold properties here, I'll take them down here, because I have a flip right now. I was considering doing some kind of corporate rental.
Huh. Yeah.
So I'm still weighing, do I want to sell it? Do I want to keep it? But what I realize is that flip money is good for, for cash now. But it's a business, it's a job.
It is a job, people. Flipping is a job. Wholesaling is a job.
Yeah. Buy, fix, and hold, I think, is the best model ever, because you can burr, as they call it.
Sure.
And so you can get all your capital back, and you can still hold that asset for long-term appreciation. Because even though we're probably going to go into a little bit of a downcline in the market, 20 years from now, historically, real estate always will appreciate, unless there's, unless we all get wiped out, and then it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think if you're able to create a sustainable plan, harvest your money back out, and keep buying, and you're going to be in a great position.
That's great. So as we wrap this up, there's two more areas we got to go. First is, where do you see your business in 3 to 5 years? So you sort of highlighted it already. You're going to keep doing what you're doing in Indiana. You're going to find one more market. So I'm guessing, let's just pretend it's 3 years from now. Is that second market as big for you as Indiana, right? You're going to go for balance, or what does that second market look like for you in 3 years?
Well, so I love Indiana and all, but it's like negative 20 degrees there right now. So for me, it's like, okay, in my mind, I want to design a real estate investor lifestyle. So I would personally like to find a market where I'd like to travel to,
Yeah.
and then I could potentially have a second home there or a third home.
Hmm.
So maybe Florida, maybe it's coastal Georgia or the Carolinas, or maybe it's Texas on the coast, but somewhere where I would like to travel,
Hmm.
and I don't mind
That makes
spending a lot
sense.
of time there to build the team. So that's kind of my mindset. But yeah, I mean, really, it's just you got to do it strategically. I mean, the first thing I would say is you got to find a rock star property manager,
Amen.
and then once you have a rock star property manager, my friend David Green says, "Rock stars know rock stars,"
Yes.
and I agree with that. And so that's what he does. He goes, "Okay, I want to find the best rock star property manager. They're going to refer me the best real estate agents in the area, and they're going to refer me the best contractors because rock stars know rock stars."
That's awesome. Very cool. And then do you think in 3 years you'll have 3 or 4 buy and holds in the Bay Area, or where do you see that going?
Depending on the market cycle, like, I mean, I just bought one out in Sassoon City for 265. So
Oh, okay.
that thing would probably cash flow. I just totally renovated it. And that's the one I'm considering
Keeping it.
um, make it into either a short-term rental or just lease it out. So yeah, I mean, I have, like, going back to what I said. One of my good buddies is the number one multifamily broker in the East Bay. So one day he's going to bring me a deal, and I'm going to be like, "Whoa, this is too big for me." But luckily, I have all these friends,
Yeah.
financial friends, and I have experienced multifamily investors, and I'm going to take down this 50-unit building in Vallejo or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm also looking in more of the Central Valley too,
Yeah.
because of the speed train that's
Yeah.
going to be connecting things.
Yeah, the high
And
speed train is going to be a game changer for the Central Valley, right? Property is going to double when Fresno's 45 minutes from the Bay Area. Phew, watch out.
yeah. So, and that's the other thing too, keeping abreast of what's going on, right? Like the changes. Eventually, cars will drive themselves, and people will say, "Okay, well, I'm not going to live in San Francisco and pay $1.5 million for an 800 square foot."
Yeah, Shaq.
Yeah, so wherever there's a good deal and I have the team, I would buy
There you go.
property. I'm not afraid. I mean, my apartment guys, they go all over and they
Yeah.
buy anywhere because they know how to put the systems in place. So I want to be the same way.
Okay,
Um,
that's awesome.
it makes sense to do it locally first, I think, personally. So depending where you're at, figure out a model. And if you're just getting started, become a good wholesaler, and
Yep.
then find a mentor and say, "Listen, the problem with wholesalers is when they're getting started, they don't know how to finesse a deal."
Yeah.
So I'm working with one wholesaler now, but he's shopping around. The key to being a good wholesaler is to find 2 or 3 reputable buyers that are going to kind of coach you through it. And even if instead of making a $20,000 fee, you make a $10,000 fee, but you're getting coached,
Yeah.
get coached, get your first deal done, learn the process, learn how a lot of newbies don't even know how, I just watched this guy, he wrote a contract with no consideration. So he had no earnest money deposit,
Oops.
and he never opened escrow. The guy says, "I don't want to do the deal anymore," and he has no valid contract. So you
Yeah.
got to learn the basics of real estate first, and that's why you need come to our real estate club, or keep watching these YouTube videos and learn,
Yeah.
how to learn the basics first, and then you can progress from there.
Yeah, very cool. Well, this has been great. I want to make sure I do what I do for all my guests and turn it over to you. Make sure you push the Thrive REIA, please, because I think that's going to help a lot of people. But go ahead and share away. Let people know about your lending and all of that. Please go
Appreciate it.
ahead.
Thank you. So you guys can go to emergelending.com, EMERGE lending.com. If you want to contact me, my contact information is there. I'll be happy to talk to you about how hard money works and the loan programs out there. If you want to come to our meetups and learn and share a network, you go to meetup.com/Thrive REIA. So it's meetup.com/Thrive REIA. And that's about it. I appreciate you having me here.
Beau, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you very much for this, and I wish you nothing but success in 2019.
Thank you very much.